How is it going today? Make sure my mic is on there. Today, we are going to be talking about the false clarity trap. False clarity trap. What does that mean? Well, have you ever, achieved something big, and you still felt empty? Well, how is it that you can hit major milestones and still feel empty? That's really what we're going to be talking about today. Is starting with that. Let me start with a little bit of a story here. There was a client of mine. He scaled his business past six figures and hit every goal he had ever written down. Very, very successful business wise. And then he told me something strange. I'd heard it many, 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 many times before, but it's something seems to be strange to most people who don't do the intensive research into this. He had said to me that he thought he'd feel different, but he doesn't. He thought he'd feel different after achieving all of this stuff, but he doesn't. He had built success externally, hoping that internally it would fulfill something. And that's really the false clarity trap right there. That is exactly what it is. Tell me just one thing. Like, let's go into this because it's supposed to be kind of sort of a discussion. If you want to chime in, cool. What is one goal that you've hit that you didn't feel as satisfied or fulfilled once you hit it, once you achieved that goal? For whatever reason, it didn't make you feel the way you expected it to feel. We are taught over time through schooling, through college, through work, we're taught by society at large how to define success externally. And while we want to feel this complete fulfillment in numbers, in milestones, in goals, in recognition, we're not completely clear on what we're really chasing. And that's that clarity trap that this title is about. You're not really trained on getting clear internally, getting aligned internally. So, what is internal success? What is it? How do you build internal success? Do you set a set of goals and start checking off check boxes? Can you build internal success and still be successful externally? These are the questions. These are the questions. And the answer is internal success is where you lay your foundation. That's where you build everything first. And we'll get into that. This is going to be a little bit of a long live. We'll get into how to build that foundation internally. You can do it at any point in time, wherever you are in this life. And you can build that internal success that develops the external success. So that once you do hit those milestones and those big achievements, you feel fulfilled. You feel complete and whole. Just achieving the numbers out there is doing a thing externally. So you climb fast externally, but not necessarily in the right direction because our internal clarity needs to be built on foundations. That's what growth mindset initiative is all about. That's what the 7 laws of personal mastery, if you follow me, that's what it's about. Is wherever you are in your life, whether you're, sorry, my bookmarker, um, whether you're in sales or in IT, it gives you the path to move you forward. But I digress. The trap with clarity is we feel that goals, achievements, building a great successful business or a great successful aligns with what we feel internally, and it's sometimes the furthest from the truth. External goals are external, achievements are external, and it does not address our mind, body, and soul internally. The clearer you are on those external successes, it is so much easier to ignore the internal alignment that needs to happen. And then we build habits that cover up our internal truth. Now, that's a whole different subject. That could be a whole different live, and that could be a long, really long hour, 2 hours, 6 hour live, just talking about how to uncover your truest self. Because from the time we're born till you start to realize with self awareness and clarity, we are burying our own true power, our own true selves. And this is where the foundation begins, is in that clarity of who we truly are. Now, we tell ourselves, well, I'm an introvert. And we tell ourselves, well, if I do this, that means that I'm that. And quite often, we're reinforcing things we assumed about ourselves. Quite often, we're reinforcing, and we'll get a little bit further into this, reinforcing that unclarity trap. We think we're clear on who we know we are, but we've buried our truest of truest selves, our power, underneath so much, and then bought into it with beliefs, and then reinforced it with habits. And what you do daily when you're not around, what you do daily when no one's around you is who you truly are. Because that is truly the habits that you've built to reinforce who you are. You could change those habits. You can build new habits. You can then change those, which then build clarity on your identity and clarity on your beliefs. That's actually the very first section of the 7 laws of personal mastery. But we're talking about this clarity trap. External success The clearer you are on the external success without being clear on truly who you are is really ignoring that internal misalignment. Progress feels like proof, proof that you're doing the right thing. Here's the thing. You could be doing the right thing and going in the wrong direction and moving fast and clear in the wrong direction towards the wrong things. But clear that you're doing the right thing because you're not building the internal success. At Growth Mindset Initiative, we build success from the inside out. There's a reason for that because all progress starts with who your true power is. Realigning with who you are. So building progress and alignment are not the same thing. And having alignment in who you are and then building the progress to build the internal success that then generates the external success. Now that's what everybody's talking about out there in the books. Like Mel Robbins, Let Them. Where she doesn't bridge is going internal and saying, be okay, build the habit. Whoever they are, right? The what is it? The atomic habits. Why is habits the habits? Habits start to build your identity and your beliefs. It's internal and it's impactful. Robert Greene speaks about mastery and apprenticeship. Well, these apprentices learn from masters how to do the things. And what they do repetitively turn into identity and belief. And this is the beautiful thing is because a lot of what we consider self-help books and how-to books, um, leadership books. I'm trying to think of one. Stephen Covey, The Seven Laws, Seven Habits of the Highly Effective Person. Sharpening the Saw. They're habits because habits change identity. Identity changes beliefs. Internal foundation then grows to highly effective person. And that's what we're talking about today. That's what the seven laws are about. So have you ever achieved something big, and instead of feeling fulfilled, your first thought was, what's next? What's next? Because that's the false clarity trap right there. The false clarity trap, it gets you moving towards the next goal and the next thing and the next thing. And it's not bad. Time management, building leadership, building a business, these are all logical, effective, powerful things that build external success. But when you're confused and you feel that or you think that external success is fulfillment, by the time you build it, you've realized that you've been confused. Because then you're just operating on a definition of success that was never fully yours. So what do you do instead? What is it that you do? What is it that you do instead of that? You want to shift from the external clarity into internal clarity first. And this is the beautiful thing. You could do this at any point in time. Um, for men, a lot of times it's referred to as uh, midlife crisis. But then we still get it wrong for midlife crisis, right? We go buy the convertible. We go do the thing that we start checking off our bucket list. And those still end up not being fulfillment. The external world requires external success. Our human lives require internal fulfillment and a foundation of built internal success. Once we build that internal foundation, all the other successes, A, mean so much more, and B, contribute to where you want to go. Um, Sharon Srivatsa was a successful tennis player, was a was a had all of these things that were not related, very successful until he realized his true North Star, until he started to uncover who he truly was. And then laying that foundation within allows him to be so successful today and taking all of those successes, lining them up and utilizing the skills. I'm a successful tennis player, but I could use this one skill here in business. I'm a successful communicator because I asked so many people so many good, curious questions. I learned those lessons and I could take those lessons here. And that's really the foundation, what we're talking about here. That is what is building success from the inside out. So it's not just what do I want to achieve, it's who do I want to become? Who am I becoming while I'm achieving these things? In my past, I had worked at a place, and working at this place, we really didn't see eye to eye. My values were core set different. And I had the opportunity to talk to the owner. And I said, what is the company's values? What are the company's values so that I can find some values and align them to them? I didn't say that part. I just asked them, what are the company values? Answer, I don't know. I don't know. Go look at the website. It's in our mission statement. In my mind, I realized in that moment, I will never be successful there because I'm so true to who I am and my values that if people are running a business and they are not certain their values, I look like a threat to everybody. And that made sense because a lot of times you're so disciplined. Oh, lighten up. Oh, when truly what it was is I knew who I was, what I could do, what I couldn't do, how I was going to utilize my strengths, what skills I was working on to make sure that I learn what I need to learn. And this is crucial. It was no longer, what do I want to achieve? It was, what am I becoming? Who am I becoming? Towards my true North Star while I'm achieving what I want to achieve. Now, when you're in a job, you have goals and expectations to meet. And then once you align those goals and expectations to meet with your values, where you're going, the skills that you're going, I'm going to practice these skills. This is going to teach me the thing. That's the important part. And that's what you could do. You could be anywhere you are right now. And then this becomes when identity and action align. The foundation internally begins to build success from within. Fulfillment stops being delayed. So instead of asking, what's my next target? What's my next goal? What's my next? Ask something more along the lines of, does this move have something in it that actually reinforces the person I am becoming? In the moment, I was a manager, and in that moment, I had decided to aim to teach leadership in that position. And I did it for free. I didn't ask for a salary. I wanted to learn more about leadership. I wanted to become more of a leader. And I wanted to start to instill valued based people around me. So I asked, when I'm a manager, I need to be a leader. How am I going to become a leader? And does this move actually reinforce the person that I'm becoming? And in that, every single day, I built those reinforcing habits. I had started building those reinforcing, beautiful habits that ensured that that I was moving in the correct direction. This one shift changed everything for me. Up until that point in time, I started doing and you'll see this in the book, I started doing the things where I identified and learned who I was. And that sounds like past. I learned who I was becoming, who I wanted to become, who I am in that current moment. And that was a reality hard check for me. And I was absolutely miserable. And while I was absolutely miserable in that, guess what? This one moment helped define where I was going and what I was doing in the current moment, that job, what I was doing in the current moment, how I could align with it. Now, I make it sound like it was so simple, it was just a click. No, this was months. This is one of the reasons why I'm here speaking about it now, is because I could save, what took me 8, 10, 12 months, maybe 24 months. I could save time for those people who are going through something similar and saying, why am I doing this thing? I don't feel fulfilled. And that's why I'm here, to unpack this false clarity trap. And that's the thing is working hard and willpower is a finite thing. Motivation is finite. And as we have this finite thing, it comes and goes. I call it an emotion. Willpower is an emotion. Motivation is an emotion. You want to find the core values. And they sometimes sound like emotions. But the difference between an emotion, willpower, you cannot build a skill out of. The harder you grasp something, this is a Star Wars quote, sorry. The harder you grasp something, the more things slip through your fingers. Same thing with motivation. However, if you build small daily habits, you look motivated and you look like you have a huge amount of willpower. So why willpower is a finite metabolic asset. It's an emotion. And it runs out way before 5 p.m. every single day. You cannot fix that design flaw with sheer discipline. And once again, discipline is one of those. You try to grasp it, the harder you grasp it, it slips through your fingers. Instead of discipline, go to the other side of that and have consistency. What I'm talking about here is we need to build a stable architecture. And I put together a 3-page 7 laws blueprint and a scorecard. And the seven laws is based off of the 7 laws of personal mastery, and it's a scorecard. And I'll show you exactly where you show up, where where you're showing up within this book. If you're interested in that, type matrix in the chat. No matter whether you're watching this watching this in a non-live version or you are watching this now, type matrix. I will send you the 7 laws blueprint link so that you can get that and rate how you are. It doesn't take that long. I think it's a 3-page document PDF, and it tells you a lot more about the 7 laws. Now we're going to come to a very important part of this live. I like to give and give and give. And there's something in the book. It's called a VP. Excuse me. I almost went to another system in the book. It's called a Vision GPS. The Vision GPS is really shows you where you're at right now. It shows you your coordinates. So GPS, you look at it at Google Maps, it has the GPS, the global positioning system, and it shows you relatively where you're at. This does this for you. So this is going to be actionable statements. This is going to be something you could take action with right now um, before you leave this video, whether it's live or not. So in GPS, the global positioning system, it has different components. You have the altitude, you have the longitude, you have the latitude. That's relatively where you're at. The Vision GPS works off of that because you have the altitude, latitude, longitude, and orbit. We'll get there. We'll get there we'll get there through this. Sorry. Um, this is live, so this is all. I do have something in front of me, but I'm working with speaking to you. It's more important. Um, the altitude. We'll start there. The Vision GPS. The altitude. Altitude is the view from the top, and it's the view from the top past the immediate short-term ego. Remember, I was talking about internal foundation. The ego prevents most of us from saying that we're doing the wrong thing. So when we have our phones and we're in that short-term dopamine rush, scrolling through something, or for me, another one, I loved researching, but never acting. My ego self-identified as a know-it-all, the person who knows how to fix things. Wherever we are, our ego is there to protect our identity and our habits. So, with the altitude, you want to have the view from the top. How do you view from the top? Well, most of the time, we build our schedules from the ground floor of survival, from the ground floor of scarcity. Instead, zoom out a century from now. It sounds crazy, and a lot of people have a difficult time cognitively thinking about themselves a century from now. But you're going so far into the future that you strip away all the titles because the titles are meaningless. You strip away the temporary masks. You strip away your parental roles. And you start to see who you actually are choosing to become. This is your altitude. For me, at a point in time, my altitude, I was choosing to become deeper into a drunkard, an unhealthy person who drank, who ate unhealthy foods, who had an attitude, high temper, hair trigger temper, was very reactional, right? And moving back, I'm like, a century from now, that's not who I want to be. I don't want my children, my family of my family, my family's family to remember or even just forget about that person that I was. So, who are you building yourself to become right now? And that's your altitude, it's your current habits. And this is going into a absolute, true, unfiltered honesty about who you are. And you want to fast forward to 22 generations out there, look back and see who you are, because then you're starting to remove your ego. Vision decays the exact moment as it's assumed. Meaning that I can have a vision of this grandiose thing, but where I am right now, that vision decays because I'm not able to act upon it. Because it's assumed that I'm able to act upon it, but it doesn't. We need to move into a clear altitude. So without a clear altitude, understanding who you are becomes much more difficult. Your perspective shrinks to short term and those short term reactive things. You will automatically compress your choices to fit inside the immediate short term scarcity, the immediate short term um, reactive comfort zone. And that's really what we're doing here is we're moving out of all of that. Where do you want to be? Who do you want to be? And then fast forward by 22 generations and then look back. And are you on that journey? What is preventing you from being on that journey? That is the altitude. Now we're going into longitude. And once again, these are probably journal reflective exercises that you can act upon right now to do it. Your longitude is your directional trajectory. That is where you're going toward your future self. Once you've defined your altitude and you see that your ego is preventing your identity to change, your habits to change, you then start to say, well, I need to align with where I want to become, who I want to become, where I want to go. That's your longitude. This is your directional trajectory towards your future self. It tracks the long term, non negotiable mission. And the truth is, once you start to define some of these things, it is going to be pulling you forwards. You're going to no longer want to sit on the couch and scroll through Instagram or whatever. I don't even have them on my phone. So ask yourself a fundamental diagnostic question. And in this exercise, are your systems built right now for creating a clean traction, clean trajectory towards your future self? Do you have systems in place that start to form where you're going internally? Or are you simply repeating what you've learned? Like we go back into that goal and achievement thing and then not feeling fulfilled. Those past survival patterns. Are you simply repeating those? Or do you have a system in place that builds traction towards your future self? Now, this longitude exercise helps you helps you stop, like builds a system to stop trading your long-term destination for the short-term goals. Now, don't get me wrong, the responsibilities in the current moment still have to be maintained. Their responsibilities, they have your word on it. Keep maintaining those. All the other short-term stuff, seeking validation and so forth, can be stopped. All that energy can then be redefined towards your altitude and longitude. Now we go into the latitude. Now this is your ground level boundaries. This is I like to call them in the Seven Laws of Personal Mastery, the book, the minimum floor habits. And really, what minimum habits are is the ones that continue to build self respect, self trust. Remember, I was talking about core values? This is one of those where it's building skills on values, respect, and trust. A lot of people think respect is a feeling, trust is a feeling. No, they're skills. Faith is a skill. Those are skills. And if you're curious, just curious about that, let's talk, because I can talk and talk and talk about those all day long. I love it. But the latitude is your ground level minimum habits. These build your boundaries and your minimum effective habits. Are they designed for failure? And what I mean by that is failure by design of these ideal routines, because they're ideal. They're a huge, important real estate within your internal foundation. They require optimal energy and great conditions. That comes with knowing yourself. That comes with exactly what we're talking about today, that clarity trap. So the second that you have these habits, and the moment life gets really busy and really, really loud, are you going to, who is that person? Who are you in that moment? Just imagine that. Who are you in that moment? When you're alone and nobody's around you, and all of a sudden you're feeling overwhelmed, life is getting loud, you're Doing what? And this latitude is those effective minimal habits. They're either decaying and covering up who you are, creating the external, I've got to achieve the goal, or they're clarifying who you are, building your future self. That foundation internally so that you have external success. So mastery in this sense means defining that minimum habit. One, just choose one. You can start with one, build it consistent, build it through your altitude, your longitude, into your latitude, and do it so that you're so consistent that you continue to build self-trust, self-respect. You begin to uncover who you truly are. This becomes a non-negotiable for you. So you have the latitude, longitude, altitude. Now we go into the orbit. The orbit is your atmospheric structure. Think about all the satellites going around the Earth, right? They're in orbit. Think of those satellites as your habits. Once again, we talked about habits in the latitude, right? But really, what it is we're talking about who you are when you're in the room by yourself. The orbits is more external. This is the architecture that surrounds your day, surrounds who you are. It includes your morning rituals, your calendar blocks. How do you handle time? Do you always show up late? Do you always show up early? How do you do these things? These also build self-respect, self-trust. These are all of your daily habits when you're alone, when you're with other people, and if you go into your altitude that centuries from now and look back on your orbits. Does your orbits change when you're around different people? People of power, do you change into becoming a yes man, or do you become quiet? These start to help you identify all of those things, their relation loops, their boundaries, your financial boundaries, your calendar and how you treat time, how you treat your resources. Do you just get angry and throw your phone? Do you abuse or are addicted to Facebook, alcohol, whatever? These structural things are another prime real estate in your life that helps guide the latitude and supports your altitude, longitude, and latitude. These daily structures, I call it very important to have a daily five of protective habits that reinforce, because they're external, they're orbiting you, reinforce your altitude and your longitude. And so I want to just quickly um, go through them again, just kind of sort of summarize, because these are important. These are exactly what we're talking about as far as going through that false clarity trap. When I say the false clarity trap, that means that you're hitting all these major milestones in your life, but it's all external. You still feel empty. What you can do about it right now is start defining your altitude, which is that century view of yourself because it gets rid of the ego. You look back a century from the future to who you are and say, are you moving in the direction of who you want to become? Then we go into the longitude. That is your directional trajectory. That is who you're going towards. And all of these need to be absolutely clear. These are the non-negotiable missions of who you're going towards. A lot of times, through achieving successes, through building the business, we think we're going towards a thing and we feel like we might be fulfilled when we're not. Looking at the longitude of your life in this vision GPS is critical to see if you're aligned. And then you have the latitude, which is the ground level. That ground level are your boundaries, your minimum floor habits, your minimum habits internally, who you are, aligned with your altitude and your longitude. And then we have the external habits, your daily five, that are supporting and reinforcing all of those. They're non negotiables. All of these are critical real estate within your internal architecture. You know, through the 7 laws of personal mastery, we talk about building. We talk about building who you truly want to be. We talk about designing who you feel you were born to be, not achieving the thing and then hoping that it is who you are. It is working on it. So this vision GPS is one of the systems with the book. So if you're really looking for inspiration, I'm not the person. Stop waiting for inspiration from me. If you want to build the architecture, great. Let's do it. Let's build that. Let's build that architecture, type matrix for that blueprint of the 7 laws, and it has a scorecard in it to see how you rate on the 7 laws of personal mastery. If you really want to say, like, hey, I want to do this right now, where could I get the book? Go to myndsetgrowth.com, MYNDSET growth.com. MY is that you're owning your own mindset. There you can purchase the 7 laws of personal mastery. With each purchase comes a free month of our courses that starts to walk you through these systems that you can take action on so that you stop firefighting your days. So that you stop building that external success and hoping to feel successful inside, fulfilled inside. You can still build the external success. Now, I want to say that. You don't have to stop everything. You can still build the external success, but it's important to align the internal success first, or as you do it. All right. Well, take care.